Oh shit! That reach. Forgot how good neutral dodge feels.
Hiya. Today's game is, well, it's Italian and Korean and Japanese, which I think makes it eligible to be an Axis power. Today we're talking about Lies of P. Let's just address the elephant in the room. This is not a great title in English. It feels a little bit silly to tell someone you're playing Lies of P in English. No one who played this was ever in doubt about what this P stands for. In Korean, this title is much better. See this P we got here, if we flip it around, resembles this Korean character, which is pronounced as
P.
So a Korean speaker would see the P, but would hear Lies of Blood. What a payoff, isn't that great? That extra oomph is missing for English speakers. And that right there is a perfect segue for talking about the story. Let's do it. Right after I awkwardly stop the flow to point out that there's going to be spoilers right here. Right, so the story. I think I experienced the story, or at least I experienced something like the story. You can never be sure with this kind of thing. I received it secondhand. You know how it is with game translations, there's always an X factor. Usually something that people will pick sides on and argue about for 10 years. The voiced dialogue I found to be largely natural and impactful, and the words never took me out of them. But the UI and item descriptions will sometimes veer into a demented fugue-like state that will give a native speaker a peripheral sense of wrongness, which I can only really replicate by showing you this picture. As an example, here's a trailer straight from the publishers.
Groggy is a system that allows you to inaugurate stiffness on enemies.
I call this technique the erudite duwang. This is that type of shit to make you go, yeah, I know English.
Throughout the game, you will be able to attain a manifold of unique costumes.
I mean, I know most of English. I'm sure to save money outside of the dialogue, some of the translation had to be done with a machine or with an online thesaurus. And that thesaurus thought he was Charles Dickens. With no irony here, let me tell you, I really enjoy this kind of translation. It reminds me of foreign MMOs I played when I was a kid. The type of thing that wouldn't say quest reward, it would awkwardly say quest requital. That made me kind of nostalgic, actually. Right to the actual mainline story. You, a puppet or robot, automaton, whatever you want to call it, awaken in a city full of these types of things. You're prompted by a mysterious voice to pick up your guide, Jiminy Cricket is trademark Disney Incorporated, all rights reserved. And then after choosing whether you're a strength man, a dex man, or a man with no conviction, you're set loose on a city full of your berserk brothers and sisters. Now, if you're really on the ball here, you can tell by the way it is, right about in this area here, that this is really similar to something that also already, is. Well, yeah, of course. This is based on the collected works of Pinocchio. They tell you right when you start the game, you silly Billy. And just like Carlo Calzone wrote in the 1800s, Pinocchio had to manage his stamina and play carefully, because when he died, he dropped all his lira on the ground. It's in the book, don't fact check me. Now, it would be really great if we had a church or something to send survivors to. Oh, hey, there we go. Yeah, a hotel will also work. This is where the central choice system of lying is introduced. The system won't allow you to enter unless you can say you're human. And this works because puppets by design cannot lie. Think of it like this. Imagine the 3 laws of robotics. Then imagine if there was another one. That's it, you're done. Now, the premise that starts the game is that one day puppets decided to jihad the countryside. So please don't ask me why we have any confidence that puppets are still going to be truthful when they're roaming the streets with flamethrowers lighting babies on fire. We just do. The hotel is safe. Period. The occasional choices you get in this game are presented in the form of truth versus lies. And they were great for creating this sad, melancholy mood, even if they didn't really feel like choices sometimes. See, mostly you get this choice. Lie to comfort somebody with a plague by telling them they're still beautiful, or let her rip. Lying increases an invisible stat, your humanity. Humanity affects which ending you ultimately get. At first, I wanted to throw shade on this for being such an obvious binary decision. But it did get better. The lie wasn't always kindness, and neither answer seemed more essentially human. And I think this system might almost work for somebody who doesn't know anything about Pinocchio. If you put yourself in that person's shoes, lying, getting closer to being human, changing, it doesn't stick out to you as an obvious goal. And so you're not going to autopilot sleepwalk into the maximum humanity ending. That will encourage you to play through a second time. And that's great because there are some details and context which is only seen in the second playthrough. there's hidden text. But I guess that's kind of held back by putting lie in the title, isn't it? You would need something else for the blood angle, wouldn't you? Maybe something like drops, because RPGs usually have a lot of loot. Wait a minute. The currency of this game is ergo. Kind of awkward to say out loud, I can't explain why. There's a reason for this term, but it's not like that matters, you know? English don't make rules about what you can make a noun, there are no laws, you know? But it does make me imagine a Korean person who thinks that this word is cool because it's not run-of-the-mill Korean. It's a cool foreign word. Anyway, it's the blue fluid power in puppets, and it's everywhere. Puppet technology built this city, lifted it to the light out of the dark ages. And so like true gamers, they based their entire economy on Baja Blast. You band together with a group of survivors, including your creator Geppetto, who will not let you forget this fact at any cost, even if it means contradicting that thing I said about most of the dialogue feeling natural, to get to the bottom of this. And you already know how that works. You just find the tallest guy, the guy who looks like he wouldn't fit inside the door to get where he is, and kill him. Rinse, repeat. And then a scene from Final Fantasy happens.
And now, the stage is set.
I wish it hadn't happened. Esteemed viewer, when was the last time you saw somebody act like this and were interested in their character? Can cross that one off the list. Maybe we can get some growth going in this piece. The first time I saw this, I said, oh, somebody's about to talk about being a god, aren't they? Why's that always funny to people? They always gotta laugh when they do that. If you want the really short thought, this part, not good. But it's because of the comparison. Almost every other interaction in this game has dimension. A crazy lady begging for her baby, and the baby is a puppet. A guy who doesn't care what other people thinks, and in his own sound mind, decided to marry a puppet. Stories that at least evoke a response, prompt reflection. And the record collection in-game complements that mood perfectly. Every track on there is a bop. It pairs with the hub area like a fine wine. You can take that from me, a single man in his 30s living in a studio apartment with no furniture. The exact fine wine demographic. You go to the record player, you put on some blues, and the game is like, you're gonna carry that weight. Except in this game, they would say it more like, you're gonna convey that ponderosity. My God, 8 minutes, we still haven't even talked about the gameplay, and it's good. First thing that absolutely must be said, these guys figured out a core component of this series that a lot of people tend to miss. Probably my favorite one, to be honest with you. Traps. A lot of other action titles using this format really try to nail down the combat as hard as possible, make it something that requires your attention all the time, but then neglect to give the player other things to pay attention to, take advantage of, and interact with. I've played games like these where they want to start putting in hard enemy after hard enemy after hard enemy with no environment to triumph over or use in the meantime. And I can say confidently in this game, every other minute I felt the interplay at work.
Oh shit. Okay, alright. Alright, watch the ground. Easy, easy. Oh, I always hate these.
My bar for this was so low, and they knocked it out of the park. It really doesn't take much. It's just a test of your attentiveness. Like, you want to watch the ranged guy, but what you should really do is check and make sure that you're really walking around that hole. Good deal, Korea, damn. On top of that, there's all kinds of quality of life things in here. Like, for example, being able to easily cancel the recovery of a regular swing to initiate a vital attack. And then being able to stay locked onto the enemy after the attack goes off. No one said this could be done. Some of these quality of life things are things you would consider heresy, like telling the player the name of the ailment they're receiving. My God. No. Everyone knows what you're supposed to do is have a mystery icon with no text, so the first time a player sees it, they may not even realize they're being hit by a status. Then hopefully it can go off and they can die and have no clue what's going on. People in the chat can be like, you got hit by the moon, man. I drew this in like 10 minutes. This is a travesty. Some of the pain points are also emulated with annoying accuracy. For example, the camera, which is still an inconsiderate, spiteful, capricious bitch. This genre, this format, whatever you want to call it, the Souls-like, it makes people more patient. With that patience, you adapt to the quirks of this kind of thing. You probably don't even notice them anymore. So somebody's probably already setting up to forgive this, preparing an 8-paragraph response that basically just boils down to, just don't fight near the wall. That's a good point. I'll just avoid every structure in this game that takes place inside of a city. You know why I'll die on this hill? Because Katamari Damacy solved this like 20 years ago. Just put a vignette on there and let the camera see through the wall. It's not hard. I'm sorry. This is not about Timothée Chalamet's game. This is great. They took the notes so well in this game. I'm surprised they didn't make it a PS4 exclusive. And every time they did something original to make it their own, it made me just want to try stuff out. Ignore the meta. Forget the perfect solution. Just see if it'll go. Weapon customization. Just switch the handle with whatever blade you want so that you're responsible for the moveset and the reach. Create the worst weapon God has ever seen. And I really like the secondary customization system. Just a whole load of perks. You want some nice touch? You want to recover your rally health on parrying? You want extra doodad capacity so you can have 8 doodads and just throw nonstop bullshit? And they really did seriously explain to you that it's called the P organ?
P organs are the source of your powers.
I haven't even gotten to the parrying yet. My God, I love parrying, son. If you get the feedback right, the sound, the feel, I will attempt to parry everything, no matter how long it takes. I will parry a bullet from a gun. I will parry pure energy. I will not parry these because they're really slow and it throws me off and it's weird and I don't like it. This is already way too long. Let me give this take as fast as possible. Parrying, great. And I'd say they got this mostly right because you don't really have to rely on it. I don't think the telegraph language in this series has yet been solidified, let's say. So some of the things they do to keep it challenging all the way through might feel more like rote memorization than reaction. There's a lot of jump scare swings, just whoop. The actual travel time of the swing relative to the windup is usually much faster than you would expect from a FromSoft game. I'm pretty sure FromSoft slows down the actual travel time of the blade to allow you to react not just to the windup but also to the sword crossing their body. Here, not always the case. Sometimes it seems instead what you're reacting to is the buildup of the windup followed by the stop before the swing. Still though, it's not like memorization versus reaction is a one or the other thing. Acquiring enemies still felt good. And if you don't agree, regular guard, dodge, they both work great. Final thoughts, I think they really nailed it with this one. Even that thing I poo-pooed earlier, the bad guy, that's not the ultimate conflict of the game. There is something with more personal stakes. Good deal. The mood and the choices made me feel more immersed than I expected from any Souls-like, period. And it at least made me feel like humanity was more than just a single color-coded choice. Goofy translation or no. I say give it a go for sure.